Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a review video for the 2020 FedEx St. Jude Invitational, where Justin Thomas is the winner. I didn't really get to watch much of the golf coverage, but I got to listen to maybe the last 30 minutes. It sounded pretty interesting, a lot of drama. Brooks birdies 17 and then puts it in the water on 18. Could have easily birdied that to put it into a playoff with Justin Thomas, but Brooks unfortunately faltered at the end and did not get it done. So Justin Thomas is your winner. I have the results up right now. You can see Justin Thomas at the top, 13 under. In the preview video that I had, I kind of said 13 was going to be the target score. So it's kind of cool that it actually ended up being 13 under. I would have assumed more golfers would have been at the top. I mean, Brooks Koepka would have been like 12 under probably. If he had not rinsed it off of his tee shot. So it's about what we thought it would be because it's a WGC event. It's a little bit more difficult. I mean, if you look at 2019's results, it looks very similar to 2020 results. And TPC Southwind is a difficult golf course, and especially if they groom it to be tough, it's just a tough golf course to score on. So 13 under was kind of the target score. There wasn't really a golfer in mind, for having it kind of a lower score like that. It's just going to be the cream rises to the top. So the best golfer is going to win no matter what. At these events, I should say. And we can assume the same thing for next week because Harding Park is going to be a difficult golf course to do well at. The first thing, so actually what I'm going to do is I took a poll on Twitter and there weren't a lot of participants, but most people wanted a video less than 30 minutes long. So I'm not going to give you my typical spiel on how to make this video faster. I'm just going to try to shorten it up so it's a little easier for you guys, or it's just more convenient for you guys, where it's just not going to be that long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the process that I had right away. A lot of what I did, I'm going to pull up the 2019 DK page. A lot of what I did was look at the top 20 Bermuda Stats for 2019. So the top 20 golfers in the 2019 Bermuda Stat, we saw in the top 10. If I were to, sorry, I didn't have a filter on this, but if I put a filter on here and sort it from top to bottom, you're going to see basically every golfer in the top 10. If you recall, I had this open and this is just full. Oh, let me sort it by results. But you can see top 10. Every single golfer was in the top 20 of that stat. So what I did is I did the same thing for the 2020 DK. Just it didn't work out. Let me just put it that way. So I have it already sorted by result. You can see right here. The dark green stat over here, let me hide one more column here. Let's hide these two columns actually. This column right here is the 2020 Bermuda stat. So this would have been the exact same stat that I was talking about in 2019. It's just this year's performance at Bermuda golf courses. Dark green indicates it's a top 20 stat. So you can see Matthew Fitzpatrick was a top 20. Xander Schauffele was a top 20. Benny Ann, Dustin Johnson, Ryan Palmer, Scotty Scheffler, and Christian Bezuidenhout. All of those golfers were top 20 in that stat, but as you can see, your first place guy was not top 20, your second place, third place, or I should just say the guys that tied at second place were not in that stat. Now, if you take a look at these golfers, really the only golfer that kind of stands out is Tom Lewis. No one really, I mean, if you follow a lot of European golf, you're going to know who that golfer is, but the rest of them, you're like, I should say this. If you're not watching European golf, you're not going to have any idea who Tom Lewis is. But he's kind of known for scoring. He's an up-and-comer, basically. Like, he is a good golfer on the Euro Tour. We haven't really seen him on the PGA Tour, but he can score, and he held his own in this field. But minus Tom Lewis, every one of them is an elite golfer. Jason Day, Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, Daniel Berger, who has just been scorching hot. And you know, this is a golf course where he's won at twice before. So a lot of people were kind of touting him a little bit prior to this tournament starting. And he kind of, I mean, he backdoored his way into a top 2 finish. But either way, he still did it. He had a really low 4th round, I believe. Let me open this up and just double check. Yeah, he shot a 65 on Sunday. So that's pretty low. We'll get in these other columns here shortly. But I just wanted to go over... Basically, I went all out or all in on this stat. And I only really selected golfers that had this top 20. In all reality, I had a player pool. I should have... Here, let me grab that other spreadsheet. I should have had this already open or ready for you guys, but didn't think about it prior to... Where is it? You can see all the spreadsheets that I go through. But I have a player pool saved once this loads up. Let me get this zoomed in for you guys. So here was my player pool right here. Rahm, McIlroy, Abraham Ancer, Sergio, Paul Casey, Mark Leishman, Sung Jae, Ian Poulter, Joaquin Niemann, Scotty Scheffler, Max Homa, Danny Willett, EVR, Louis Oosthuizen, Ryan Palmer, and Phil Mickelson. Now, like, I hit pretty decently on golfers like Phil. You can even say like Ryan Palmer, Scotty Scheffler even. And I would say Abraham Ancer. So if we were to go back to the other spreadsheet, you're going to see a lot of these golfers. So there's Abraham Ancer, there's Scotty Scheffler. Obviously, Phil Mickelson is up here. So I had 3 of the guys. Louis up here. Like, I had enough that would have created a pretty decent lineup. It's just I selected the wrong guys because I went all in on the 2020 Bermuda stat, which is unfortunate, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. What I really should have been looking at, if you guys can already tell, is this course history. Now, last year was the first time it was a WGC event. So prior to that, it would have just been the invitational that people would have, or the classic that people would have wanted to come play. So it would have just been those golfers that enjoy golfing here. Most of those golfers probably not elite level to be in a WGC event like for this year or last year. But obviously there are some golfers that had only played, you know, last year. So like Justin Thomas, it was his first time playing last year. Let me go ahead and hide these columns. I should have kept the other ones open. So if I were to open these 2 columns and look at last year, so you can kind of tell Justin Thomas, it was his first time playing. Matthew Fitzpatrick, it was his first time playing. And Louis Oosthuizen, it was his first time playing, at least going back to 2013. So we had 3 golfers with really good course history. Obviously, you can see their top 20 in course history. But I never really thought about using course history, primarily because it was just... You know, this is the second year it's been a WGC event, but definitely course history was an important role. I mean, you can look down the leaderboard. We've got Dustin Johnson, who finished 12th. Not really good enough to be on your fantasy roster, but still would have got you solid results. I shouldn't say that. He probably would have won you money, but obviously if you had to pick between Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, and Brooks Koepka, and you had to like select between those 3, you would have definitely, you know, you wouldn't have made as much money if you would have excluded Justin and picked Brooks and Dustin together. But who knows? Maybe you would have went with a Brooks, Daniel Berger, Dustin Johnson lineup. You still would have got a lot of value out of that. You probably would have still won decent money. You just wouldn't have won that first place money. But yeah, overall Bermuda, when we look at that actually played out pretty well. And that was another stat I was looking at. Tom Lewis only has 2 events. 66 was his overall average score for Bermuda grass. I can't really, you know, that's not... I mean, when you add this second place finish to this, obviously it's going to be 3 events. 3 divided by 68, it's going to be 20. So he's going to have a top 20 stat. Not saying that's how you should actually figure that stuff out when you're considering... like Bermuda stats. However, you know, I don't know how you really get on Tom Lewis, honestly, because if we highlight his row here, we have no PGA stats to look at. Again, this comes from the PGA Tour, so obviously if you have other sites that you go to for your stats that have that information, that's awesome. But looking at Tom Lewis, like, I don't know how you really get to him other than just knowing who he is and what his capabilities are. He scored 1.5 points less than Justin Thomas. Just let that sink in. Justin Thomas got a 10-point boost just for winning the tournament over second place. Excuse me. So yeah, I don't know how you get to Tom Lewis, but the rest of these golfers, phenomenal recent course history. Recent form looked pretty good as well, so obviously something to look at. Those are things I really didn't take into consideration. I was more focused on kind of like the top 20 stats over here, combined with the top 20 Bermuda stats. Needless to say, I didn't do the greatest. I won some money back, didn't win all of my money back that I put in, so obviously we're a little underwater, but it was interesting, and I really should have taken it into consideration. One of the biggest tells too was the last week bucket, golfers who did not play the week before. I mean, there weren't a lot of golfers in the field that actually did play. Like if we were to sort by this column, you know, we had 13 golfers that played, but if you would have faded most of them, obviously you wouldn't have gone on Brooks then, but you could have transitioned probably to Daniel Berger, I'm guessing. Let me double check here. We'll go over the optimal lineup pretty soon. What is that salary? 50,300. So you wouldn't have been able to. Anyways, we'll check that soon. But either way, course history was one of the stats should have looked at. Bermuda, I still think definitely want to look at. Tom Lewis here, obviously we didn't have, you know, he doesn't have enough stats, but now we'll know. The rest of them though, look at the stats, like they're good, right? Green, light green, good stats. Yellow, maybe not so much. Not in a field like this because that'd be your lower percentile. But if we go between 2019 and 2020, let me hide this. If we go between 2019 2020, if we look at the stat here for the top 10 golfers, you know, 57.39 was the highest. Go to 2020 and we look at here. Now 66 is, but you take that 66, everybody else is underneath 57. So like when we compare, maybe we shouldn't have really been looking at top 20. We should have just been looking at a specific number. Like even the 2019 Bermuda stats, the highest number was 34.2. Let's go one. Okay, so we definitely had way higher stats here. But 46.33. Okay, so it's a little different. Again, course history basically ruled out anything and really should have been looking at course history over grass stats, but it's something to note for next year when we go to this tournament. I think we probably want to focus more on course history than anything, and for recent form as well. So went over the Bermuda stats. That was one of the things. If you were with me in the lineup construction video, I talked a lot about salary theory. So if I go to the notes page and scroll down, we kind of looked at these numbers here, which, you know, salaries in top 10, salaries in top 3. Here's your top 10 average, you know, minimum, maximum salary, and then what was the winner's overall salary. Well, if we go to 20, you know, we look, 10.7 was the winner. Now, it could easily have been Brooks at 9.2, but it was still 10.7. So we come back here and we look. The average salary, if you recall, if you go to the lineup construction page, this was at 10.3 already. So it just rose a little bit because obviously Justin Thomas was 10.7. But minimum didn't really change. Oh, I'm sorry. These wouldn't have changed no matter what. And then we just add one more to into this 9K and above. If you're on the lineup construction page, you would have saw this was at 9. I included the St. Jude tournaments in 2017 and 2018, and I didn't think that was proper because those weren't WGC events, and this says all WGC events. So I excluded those. I mean, the strength of field wouldn't have been high anyways. But if we look over the salary count, this is the other thing I was playing with. I grabbed golfers around this salary like a lot. If we went to the lineup construction, you can see Paul Casey, Mark Leishman, Sung Jae, Ian Poulter, Joaquin Niemann. Like all of these golfers here were around those salaries, and I played a lot of them. I mean, I can show you what my lineups are right here. I kind of did a little bit of the cascade method. So this was kind of one of my anchor lineups, and I copied that down here for the Rory lineup. So these lineups were the same, you know, using Abraham Ancer, Sung Jae Im, Ian Poulter, Scotty Scheffler, and Ryan Palmer. And I just changed them with Jon Rahm. So basically, I did the cascade, and I use Sergio for one, Paul Casey for another, Mark Leishman for another, and Max Homa. You know, those were the four kind of substitutes that I made. In this column, if you pay attention, you'll see Mark Leishman and Ian Poulter kind of being mixed interchangeably. I didn't know exactly who to go with. I couldn't make up my mind. But I was all in on Sung Jae Im, Abraham Ancer, Scotty Scheffler, and Ryan Palmer. Now, Scotty Scheffler and Ryan Palmer didn't really hurt me. Sung Jae Im and Abraham Ancer also really didn't hurt me. But obviously having like Jon Rahm and Mark Leishman, Ian Poulter, those guys didn't really help. And then Sergio was doing well for a while. He was up towards the top 5 on the leaderboard before he kind of collapsed on Sunday. Paul Casey was atrocious. I'm glad he was originally in my core lineup. I'm glad I stayed away from that. Mark Leishman, he looked like he was doing good the first 2 days and then kind of fell apart. Same with Max Homa. But then I interchanged Abraham Ancer with a bunch of guys that are around the 8K range. You know, if I could reach up to someone in 9K like Matthew Fitzpatrick, I did. Obviously, I did it with Hideki. I thought these were really good lineups. It's just like Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy did not pull through whatsoever. Imagine if I would have... So I said I wanted to play, or you wanted to play golfers over 10K. Imagine if I would have basically created equal lineups of all these guys and interchanged them over in this lineup as opposed to going all in on Jon Rahm and Rory. I'm sure I would have hit on one of my lineups because it just looked good, you know. So I did that with Jon Rahm and Rory, and then when I got down here, looks like I must have done a couple like manual lineups. Actually, no. I then went with the sweet spot percentage for the other golfers. Like I was gonna make sure I had 9K and above right here in this column, and then also here I just went with the sweet spot percentages and just added those golfers with the rest of the lineups that I had. So you can see like they're basically equal ownership throughout a lot of these. And unfortunately, I didn't get any of my Justin Thomas lineups to hit. Like Justin Thomas, Ricky, Sergio, Streelman. This lineup at one point in time looked really good. This lineup could have done some work. Sung Kang was at the top. Morikawa could have been there. Benny Ann was at the top. Like it would have. I think I did cash with this lineup, but it fell flat a little bit. So unfortunate about that. But I'm not going to spend too much time here. What I'm going to do is go to so we did the salary thing. I just want to, you know, recap this. One of the price points that actually bumped up was 6,600. That was Phil Mickelson. Actually, if we look at the salaries here, we had 6.2, 6.6, another 6.6. So it actually bumped up twice. 6.8. Let's look at the results. 6.7. So we had 5 golfers under 7K. So it's interesting to note, and in all honesty, here let's go into the 2020 recent form. Oh, I added a column. That's why it looks a little different. So let's go ahead. I can't really make it any smaller. I can actually pull this in. There we go. Here we go. The $3 birdie winning lineup. This is what I like to do also, is go through the winning lineup versus the optimal lineup. So I didn't play anything more expensive than the $3 GPP. I should have actually totaled up these Let me do that really quick. Sorry, guys. We have 613.5. So the $3 birdie lineup had 581.5. The optimal lineup had 613.5. Which means obviously we had 30 points that we could have worked with to actually, beat that $3 birdie winning lineup. That lineup was Justin Thomas, Tom Lewis, Phil Mickelson, Daniel Berger, Matthew Fitzpatrick, and Kevin Na. The optimal lineup was Justin Thomas, Tom Lewis, Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, Jason Day, and Matthew Fitzpatrick. So if I were to sort by DK points, this is what you're going to see. What I'd like to point out, this is the thing that just came to mind. Bryson DeChambeau and Kevin Na. So obviously Kevin Na was in that winning lineup around 7,500, may I add. They both finished 30th or worse. But look at their score when it comes to, DraftKings points. We have 1st through 12 basically here. But Ches Reavie, 6th place, didn't beat Kevin Na or Bryson DeChambeau. And he also didn't beat some guys here at 15th place, Abram Ancer and Brendan Todd. So that's kind of like those golfers I was talking about. So obviously I was on Abram Ancer, I was on Scotty Scheffler. Not really anyone else that's on top here. So like I said, those two golfers kind of panned out for me. Yeah, it was not good. I didn't pick a lot of good golfers. I was on Sergio, like I had said. There's Colin Morikawa, finished 20th, but didn't have a lot of points. All right. So there were opportunities to actually beat that $3 winning lineup. It just, you had to mesh the right salaries together, obviously. But it was definitely doable. We had a lot of 6K golfers. Oh yeah, Brendan Todd, forgot about him, his collapse on Sunday. He was winning this tournament. So having another 6K golfer that could have easily been in the top 10. It's kind of remarkable. Like, it's a bunch of 6K golfers and a bunch of 9K golfers at the top. 9K and above. This was definitely a stars and scrubs approach. And I had said in my lineup construction video, I don't think this is a stars and scrubs approach. So I was definitely off on that. But that's enough talking about this. I knew we needed to play a 10K and above guy. Had to happen. I just was thinking we wanted to round it more into 7K golfers. That's why when looking at the notes page, we see this count of salaries within the top 10. I wasn't so much concerned with the exact number. I just wanted to be around that price. So having two golfers from 7.5 to 7.1 was kind of on my mind. Likewise, playing golfers that were like 6,800, 6,700 around there. What I should have done, because these prices are going to change based off of what DraftKings thinks of certain players, but their models are going to be really close to our models. And instead of 67, thinking of 67 or 68, we could either go 2K below or 2K above, and obviously get ourselves onto someone like Phil Mickelson at 66. I would never have assumed 62 would have been anywhere near, the top 5, maybe top 10, but definitely not top 5. So I just didn't look at anyone under 6'2". I probably played one lineup of Tom Lewis, but that was it. Because that's probably what the sweet spot number would have told me. Yeah. And if you want to know what that is, go to the lineup construction page. But other than that, it was, here are your top 20 stats. That's the other thing we should go through really quick. Let's look at all of the stats. Actually, let me start from left to right. I always forget to do this, or I don't do this until late. Let's go ahead, look at, I'm not going to look at fantasy points or ownership percentage, but tee times paired up together. This is what the color scheme looked like prior to. Golfers in red were golfers I liked, but I didn't like. There was only one golfer in their pools that fit the mold of being in the top 10 that I thought. I didn't like the rest of the golfers in their group to play with. So this is like pairing. I highlighted these guys that were paired together, basically, with golfers that I liked, or that also fit the mold of top 20 in 2020 Bermuda and also overall Bermuda. So you can see, like, you know, Daniel Berger was playing with Abraham Ancer. I liked Abraham Ancer. I really couldn't fit Daniel Berger in any of my lineups. But if you would have started with those two, instead of, you know, say, can't really find anyone here at the top. Hideki Matsuyama, Colin Morikawa, and Justin Thomas. Like, if you went with Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa or Hideki Matsuyama, you would never have been able to fit Daniel Berger in your lineup. Most likely, you wouldn't have been able to. And so I should think about pairing guys in the middle more so than pairing guys at the top of the salary leaderboard, because that's kind of what I do. Is I first look at the top and then go down, and I really never have time to go through those middle golfers. I just kind of throw them in whenever. But, you know, Dustin Johnson was a golfer that I guess I didn't really like the group. Maybe it wasn't Dustin Johnson. It could have been like Shane Lowry. I would have to look at the top 20. But either way, the golfers in red are groups that had one golfer I liked, but not all of them. Just so you guys know. I don't really see any other pairings up here that were together. You know, it would already be highlighted, and of the highlighted colors, all I can see is 6 and 6, and that's it. I see 19 and 19. You know, game 19, Dustin Johnson, Shane Lowry. I see 13, Ryan Palmer, Scotty Scheffler, and Eric Ruyan. That's pretty cool. Or Eric Van Ruyan. Yeah, I don't see anyone else to really pair together. So really, Tee Time Pairings, not that big of a deal this week. At least you couldn't create an optimal lineup based off of that, or even a winning lineup. Odds, I don't really talk about odds. You know this. Official World Golf Ranking, Tom Lewis, 67. He was probably one of the last guys in the field. But still, you know, inside the top 100. We kind of knew that because of the WGC event. But let me hide all of that. We kind of already went through course history, but if I were to sort by course history, you're going to see a lot of guys here in the top 10. You know, you see the result over here on the left side, so just keep that in mind when we go through this. I'm not really going to talk a lot about it. We'll just go through. I'll tell you how many top 20s there were. So course history, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 top 20s for course history. Like, it's actually top 12s, so that's really good. Hide that. Look at recent form. Recent form, we had 6 golfers inside the top 20, and really 4 golfers inside the top 10. We don't need to look at these stats. And overall Bermuda, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We had 8 golfers inside the top 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 golfers inside the top 12. So that was a good stat to look at. 2020 Bermuda, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 golfers inside the top 12. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 golfers inside the top 20. So, like, that's still a good stat to look at, 2020 Bermuda. It's just, you can't create an optimal lineup based off that. You can see, like, the little tick marks here and even the light blue. It just, you're not going to find an optimal lineup using that. Again, got to look at that course history for next year. Tee to green stats. Tom Lewis didn't have any stats, so let's keep that in mind. I'm going to go and just hide all of this now. I don't want the blanks to show up. This is an indicator of top 20, and that's what I want to look at. Tee to green, pretty big. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the side of the top 12. 5, 6, 7, 8 inside the top 20. Now, 2 of those golfers are in 20th place, and they're too expensive. So you really can't use them in this little model or this scheme. And really, you can't use a lot of these golfers. They're too expensive. Like, you could have used Abraham Ancer, Scotty Scheffler, and obviously Justin Thomas. That's it. You wouldn't have been able to fit Hideki in that lineup, or Morikawa, or Xander, Webb Simpson, or even Daniel Berger. Maybe you could have. Actually, yeah, you would have been able to. I'm sorry. You could have grabbed 2 6K golfers with Justin Thomas, Abraham Ancer, Scott Scheffler, and any of these 9K guys. So that would have been 4. You could find 2 6K golfers, most likely. Off the tee, let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 inside the top 12, 7 inside the top 20. That's a decent stat. Strokes gained approach was one of those big ones that I saw earlier on when we were doing the lineup construction video. And it looked like that to be a correlation to go along with the overall Bermuda stats. I really didn't look that much into it, and I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't have wanted to go all in on some of these golfers. Like Tyrrell Hatton would have been a favorite of mine for sure. And it would also get you on more of Paul Casey, which I'm glad I faded, more of. But you only had 2 golfers inside the top 12. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 golfers inside the top 20. So a good number, but we're really looking at top 10. We're trying to find top 10 golfers. Looks like around the green was a huge one. And I do believe someone was touting that on the DFS industry. I just don't remember exactly who. But we have 6 golfers. So that's pretty huge. 6 golfers inside the top 12. And really that's it. 7 golfers inside the top 20. So around the green was actually a really good stat to look at. Strokes gained putting. JT is the top of strokes gained putting, and he won the tournament. That's pretty remarkable. It's really rare, I feel like, to see something like that. We had 4 inside the top 12, 5, 6, 7, 8 inside the top 20, 9 inside the top 21, really. So strokes gained putting actually was a really good stat to look at. Definitely should consider that going forward as well. Usually a lot of people don't like to look at that, but I do think that actually gives you a better sense of who's just an actual good putter. I wouldn't say like that's something you should rely on, but having good strokes gained putting stats, throughout the entire time, throughout the season is actually a good thing. And should be looked at. Green and reg, not a stat really worth looking at. Proximity, that's remarkable. Shane Lowry, Louis Oosthuizen, Ches Reavie, DJ, JT. So we have 5 golfers right there inside the top 12. Let me just count all of these. I can't believe proximity. Proximity was the main stat here. 12 golfers inside the top 20. That is insane. Birdie or better. Birdie or better shows up a lot, as you can see. I'm not really going to go through all of that. Did driving distance even matter? Yeah, kind of. Not really. Actually, never mind. Not really. Driving accuracy? No. How about good drive percentage? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, there's JT. He won the tournament, so he's up there. We have 4 golfers inside the top 6, so that's cool. I've always wondered about that stat, the good drive percentage, just to see how it actually correlates with success at this golf course or at any tournament, really. I think the harder a golf course is, the better the good drive percentage actually matters. So let's keep that in mind when we look at the PGA Championship next week. Bogey avoidance, obviously we have our winner up there, and really probably this is a stat most people should look at, but for this tournament it really didn't pan out. So never mind. I'm going to take that back. But it looked like putting, good drive percentage, strokes gained approach was a decent one, right? Yeah, our winner was up there. Never mind. I'll take that back. But it was putting, good drive percentage. Was it tee to green? That was the other one. No, I can't remember. Course history obviously is the other one that we were talking about. And overall Bermuda. So those are the 4 stats I'm going to look at for this golf course, this golf tournament next year. And hopefully that will pan out better than kind of what we chose to go with this year. Other than that, I really don't have anything else to talk about. Let's back up. So hopefully you guys did well, and maybe some of what I spoke about during my preview and lineup construction actually helped you guys. But I am going to try to keep these videos shorter, just because it seems like most people like that. So obviously we're at 34 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up right here. we're going to do better for next week. We'll do better for next year. You know, it's always good to have more data available. And obviously, as I go through this, I'm going to learn a little bit more and more on everything. So thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you at the preview video for the PGA Championship. All right, bye.